Local broadcast of this program is made possible in part by Johnny's Toys.
Once upon a time, there was a toy shop full of imagination and magic. But what if we could go back to once upon a time?
I just love Johnny's Toys. It's the fun place.
What if we once again used our imagination and believed in a little bit of magic? Every story has a first scene. Mine began in 1974. That's me at Christmas, 7 months old, receiving my first Christmas toys. A Snoopy in the box, a pull-along horse, a drum, all great toys that I don't remember. The first few years of your life, you get toys that help you learn and are the foundation of your imagination. But do you remember the first toy you wanted? The first toy you had to have? In May of 1977, I turned 3. A few weeks later, Star Wars took the world by storm. I was too young to see it in theaters upon its initial release, but fast forward to August of 1979, it was just before I started kindergarten. I had seen the commercials on TV during Saturday morning cartoons about a space adventure, and it was being re-released in theaters. My dad took me one Saturday to the Studio Theater on 7th Street in downtown Cincinnati. I was hooked. As we made our way back to the car in the parking garage, we walked through something called the Skywalk, but to me, it was the halls of the Death Star, and I was there to rescue a princess with my laser sword. But the thing that really caught my eye was the X-Wing fighter. I had to have one. During Christmas break, I got chickenpox. My dad went to Indiana to collect the presents for us from his side of the family. When he returned home, he walked into the bedroom and handed me a red bag. He had stopped at a toy store on the way home and gave me an extra present. It was a die-cast metal, high-impact plastic X-Wing fighter with authentic details and styling with open and closed wings. There was a yellow sticker at the top that read, Johnny's. I couldn't rip that packaging open fast enough. 2 things happened that Christmas. I recovered just in time to return to school after the break, and I learned there was a magical place called Johnny's Toys.
So, I guess the first time I went to Johnny's Toys was probably 1986, 1987. It was more probably for my birthday. We kind of had a tradition at my house where you would get your birthday money together and then you would go to Johnny's Toys.
So I was born in 1981, so I was like a child of the 80s, and toy stores, I feel like, were such a big deal. But Johnny's like stood out because we had a KB Toys in the mall, but Johnny's stood out because it felt like this personalized experience that you got to have that was really special.
Johnny's was just an awesome experience. I am so sorry that it's gone, but you know, especially for children today, because I'm age 56, and You know, children today don't understand what Johnny's is. You go into Toys R Us or one of these other toy stores, you walk in, you might get greeted, you might not get greeted. Kid goes in, picks a toy, they ring you up, bag it up, say, all right, see you later, you're gone.
If you grew up in Greater Cincinnati, chances are you remember Johnny's Toys. The flagship store was at 3719 DeCourcy Avenue. Most of us remember the big red building with Mickey Mouse and Pinocchio peering down at us from just above the entryway, and some of us may even remember the little shop before the big red building at 3719 DeCourcy. That was once home to Miss Mary's Candy Shop and Confectionery. And that is scene 1 for Johnny's Toys. Mary Ploger lived at 17 Southern Avenue with her sister and her family, the Mayers. In 1904, she founded Miss Mary's Candy Shop at 3719 DeCourcy Avenue. The building was built by the Felton brothers, a very well-known construction outfit. Miss Mary's was very popular, especially with the students at 8th District School. The school sat just behind Miss Mary's and was connected by an alley. Before school, at recess, and after school, children would race down the alley to purchase penny candy, and if you bought a nickel's worth, Mary would throw in a few extra pieces. Just down the street from Miss Mary's, a hardware store opened up in the early 1900s. It was owned and operated by Thomas J. Martin at 3616 DeCourcy. In the early 19th and 20th century, hardware stores were where one would go to get toys. Department stores would mostly sell toys during the holidays and promote toylands and toy villages for their Santa appearance. And in the case of Martin's Hardware, it was the Latonia headquarters for Santa. Thomas Martin and his wife Frida had 3 children, John, Madeline, and William. As a teenager, William, or Bill Martin as he was known, would of course help his father at the hardware store and especially enjoyed setting up the toy displays. But he also had a job down the street, as a clerk at Miss Mary's. When Miss Mary's health began to decline in the 1930s, she was looking to retire. In 1939, 19-year-old Bill Martin borrowed $500 and bought Miss Mary's. Bill Martin was now an entrepreneur with a vision, and that vision was a shop that sold toys year-round.
A tense gray dawn in the South Pacific, and Allied warships...
In December of 1942, Bill Martin and his brother Johnny went to war. While Bill was in the South Pacific, his father Thomas, now retired, and his sister Madeline, who they affectionately called Sis, ran the shop. The shop was never far from Bill's mind, even at war. He wrote his sister discussing business ideas and instructions for the shop back home in Latonia. When Bill returned home, the world had changed. From 1946 to 1964, there were 76 million children born in the United States. And with millions of kids, there needed to be millions of toys. Toy sales grew from 84 million in 1940 to 900 million in 1953, and into the billions in the 60s and beyond. And from the war came innovation. And the game changer? Plastic. In 1951, Bill married Grace Kamen, who would become a key, no pun intended, part of the Johnny's Toy Story. When people came to the shop or talked around town about the shop, they assumed it was operated by the popular older brother Johnny. So they called it Johnny's. And as the saying goes, the customer is always right. Bill ran with it. The transition to all toys was a slow one. After all, The moneymaker for Johnny's, just like it had been for Miss Mary, was school supplies. The proximity of both Holy Cross and the nearby 8th District School meant dozens upon dozens upon dozens of children getting their notebooks and school supplies from Johnny's. And as that other saying goes, location, location, location. Bill was not afraid to take risks, like the layaway plan, for instance, which was a huge success for decades. He also had a Santa that would attract children far and wide. But it was a trip to Louisville to see a friend's toy shop that changed Johnny's forever. In the early 1950s, Bill became acquainted with James Thornberry, who owned Thornberry Toys in Louisville. Thornberry's had a birthday club where children filled out a form, brought it in on their birthday, and picked a special present from the Thornberry birthday chest inside the store. Bill loved the idea. It was a fantastic way to get kids and their parents into the store. Bill was inspired and came up with his own birthday chest, except his was a birthday castle. And every kid that signed up would get a special key in the mail, and with that key, they would unlock a castle full of toys where they could go in and pick one out just for them on their day. The original castle was built in the mid-50s under a model train showcase under the stairs in the back of the Miss Mary building. But when the big red building was built, the castle was in the front right-hand corner where you could see it through the front windows, built by Leo Ortwine. In the 1970s, Bill wanted the castle to be more Disney fantasy and less medieval. He hired the Struble brothers, Chuck and John, who came up with a fantasy birthday castle with color and enchantment. The Struble brothers would go on to build the castles for every other Johnny store.
You would wait for the little card to come in the mail, probably a few weeks before your birthday. And my mom would always hide it because she knew I would find it. So she would hide it in this little area, and I would see the yellow stick, and I'm like, it's Johnny's time. They would take the key off. Okay, go ahead and enter. So you would stick the key into the door. There was a little keyhole right above the handle. You would stick it, and you would turn it. I don't remember if it was a real lock or if it was just kind of for show, but you would turn it, and then the employee would push the door open for you.
Okay, you're on video. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
How old are you today?
5.
Are you 5? Where are we at?
Johnny's.
Johnny's.
I just grew up getting one in the mail, getting the I guess like the little postcard thing with the key in there. So exciting to get to come here, to get to go in the castle for your birthday, walk around the toy store and see the most amazing toys.
Man, I'll tell you what, when I got that key in the mail, the only thing I could relate it to is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. When he got the golden ticket, man, I would run around the house and I'd wave it all over and I'd be like, I got my key. And then to go to Johnny's, oh man, I think we would pull up in the parking lot, and as soon as we pulled up in the parking lot, I think I already had the door open. I wanted to jump out of the car and run in there because I knew the castle was waiting.
But everybody was going there for that Johnny's Castle. You got that key in the mail, man. And that was just the best thing ever. The coolest thing I ever got from the castle, I got a Rubik's Cube, but it wasn't a cube, it was a pyramid. And I was just in awe of that thing. I played with it all the time until the stickers came off of it, So I wish I still had it because it still has a fond place in my mind.
In 1966, Bill Martin had been in business for 27 years. With 4 smaller expansions under his belt along DeCourcy, it was time to go big, as in Big Red. A $40,000, 15,000 square foot building was built attached to the original Miss Mary's. It was opened for business in 1968 and would be the worldwide headquarters for Johnny's Toys for the next 22 years. By Christmas of 1978, Star Wars and Kenner ruled the galaxy, and Johnny's couldn't keep Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker, and Chewbacca in stock. Puzzles, figures, ships, punching bags were sold out as soon as they hit the store. Kenner and Johnny's had a great relationship.
And the thing that was the most wonderful thing about Johnny's Toys was the fact that they were not a toy outlet at all. They were a family outlet. They had the most wonderful folks working with them.
In 1981, NPR broadcast the Star Wars radio drama adaptation, and in the Cincinnati area, it was run thanks to a $5,000 grant from Johnny's Toys. My father had read in the newspaper that Darth Vader was taking a break from trying to rule the galaxy to come to Johnny's. I had to go. I asked my mom and dad, and they agreed I had to go. And I couldn't wait to see the Dark Lord in the flesh, or metal, I suppose. As I walked down the front steps that Memorial Weekend of 1981, I got sick. Mom took me back inside, but Dad drove the few blocks to Johnny's, stood in line, and got my Darth Vader autograph. And that Memorial Weekend, I listened to the epic 7-hour performance that my dad recorded on 8-track. And I, like thousands of other tri-state kids that weekend, had Johnny's to thank. Star Wars made me want to become a filmmaker, but Johnny's provided the tools of my imagination that helped me become a filmmaker. As the 1970s rolled into the 1980s, so too did the popularity of TV toys, and that meant appearances at Johnny's like Strawberry Shortcake and Spider-Man and Batman and many others. There was even a Johnny the Clown mascot. In the mid-80s, a new phenomenon took over, and that was Cabbage Patch dolls.
A Cabbage Patch doll, that was my thing. And going to Johnny's and getting a Cabbage Patch doll stands out in my mind because it was like a whole aisle of like Cabbage Patch dolls, and there were all these boxes, and like taking the box down and like trying to find the birth date or the adoption date to like get it close to my birthday or close to a sibling's birthday. It just felt like super, super special to do.
Johnny's continued to grow. There were now stores in Green Hills, Western Hills, Norwood, and Milford. The family business of selling toys was booming. In November of 1990, Johnny's even had a subsidiary store called St. Nicholas Toys located in the Carew Tower in downtown Cincinnati. And as for the flagship store in DeCourcy, well, the time had come to move on. As the saying goes, parking, parking, parking. In 1991, Johnny's Toys moved to the Latonia Shopping Center at 4369 Winston Avenue, only a few short blocks from the DeCourcy store. There was plenty of parking and room for events like the popular sidewalk sale. In 1999, Bill Martin passed away. But his legacy continued with his family Grace and sons Tom and John. Bill was an innovator, a marketing genius, but more importantly, he was a good person. His success was second to family and kindness. The stories of generosity of Bill Martin are countless.
Johnny's has played a big role in my life from the time I was a child all the way up into my early 20s. When I was a child, obviously, everybody knows it was a big deal to get that card in the mail. And it was a big deal at Christmas time because you didn't go around your house looking for toys, you were around your house looking for the hidden red bags. Early 90s, a very good friend of mine got me a position there working as a stock girl. And I absolutely loved when they called Castle. They would say, "Castle, please, Castle." And I was just right on it because I just loved going over and meeting the little ones and letting them in the castle. It was just such a joy to me to see these little kids just being so happy and just so full of love and positivity. But Johnny's was unique, and there was just nothing like it.
They all wore this back in the 60s and 70s. My mother-in-law would wrap the gifts for the castle. They used to be wrapped all the time. I think they eventually stopped wrapping all the presents. But when you walked in, you could see your name, your age on the different shelves, but you never knew what you were getting because it was all wrapped up until you came out and opened it up and saw what was in the castle. But kids from all over. I mean, you know, Johnny's drew from all over the greater Cincinnati area. And we would be over in Cincinnati somewhere like Kings Island, for example, or it used to be Coney Island back then. Someone would come up to Joe and say, "Don't you work at Johnny's, or do you work at Johnny's Toys?"
So I worked here 2008, 2009. I had the unique experience of seeing it when it was in its prime. We saw the train department, we had all the things. And then I actually worked all the way until the end where they had like just the very, very back right before it closed down completely. But it was awesome. My big brother worked here. He was in the bike department. He did stock. I worked in the front. I stocked. But it wasn't work. It was just fun. It was honestly just fun. Like one time John Martin and I rollerbladed while we cleaned the store instead of actually like picking up the toys. I mean, we picked up the toys. We still cleaned the store, but we were on rollerblades the whole time. And he almost like took out an entire display before we put them up. And then we were like, okay, we should probably stop doing this.
We came in, we got to take our first son to experience like a brief glimpse.
No.
I get like emotional because it's like so cool. Yeah, like so we took our son. He got a baseball and a baseball bat.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have 3 kids and only the oldest got to experience it once. But it's cool because like growing up, experiencing something, it's like a moment in time. You see those moments in time where you're like, man, I would have loved to have been a part of this, or loved to have been a part of that. And like just growing up, being a part of Johnny's Toys, I don't think I took it for granted. But that's gone.
And I think another thing about Johnny's that was super special was Johnny's had layaway. And I know, other stores around town had layaway, but I know that it helped my mom provide Christmas as a kid. And then, 17, 18 years ago when Johnny's it was kind of towards the end, and I actually was going through a divorce, and it was my first Christmas as a single mom, and I was like panicked over like what I was gonna do, and I remembered that Johnny's did layaway, and I went and got to give my son, like it felt very like full circle to get to give my son a Christmas in a really hard season, and that Johnny's got to be a part of that. Yeah, Johnny's was just it's like really like a character in my life, like of my childhood. It was like an important person. in like being this little kid, it just felt like such a big thing to get to go and do, and to like make the trip here, and just being like dressed up and excited and ready to like go in and open the castle door.
People don't understand people that get attached to buildings and experiences. And I've always been a big believer of you get experiences from the places where they were. So this building, just pulling into the parking lot here to do this today, it's nostalgic. You know, I remember coming here, parking up there near the handicap spots and walking in. It's just things like that that really get your mind going, and you don't realize how good something is until it's taken away from you.
So my experience with Johnny's was just a place to get away, to be a kid, to look at really cool, amazing toys. And I remember one of my favorite things I ever got there was I got a G.I. Joe Storm Shadow from my brother for Christmas. That was one of the first toys I ever got. And I remember we actually went into Johnny's Toys. My mom said, go pick a toy that you guys really want. And my brother picked the Storm Shadow for me from Johnny's. And I just absolutely love that. But it was the experience. Had nothing else in the world that I would have looked more forward to than my birthday, going to Johnny's Toys with the key and the card, and just that was it. That's my happy memory of Johnny's Toys.
You know, you'd spend hours walking around the store, much to your parents' chagrin, you know, until all your money was spent. And you know, we're talking like $1980 here. So if you walked in there with $50-$60, you walked out with a lot of stuff. My grandfather and I were driving around. I was sick from school. I was getting over the chicken pox, and we're driving by here, and he's like, "You want to stop at Johnny's Toys?" I'm like, "Yeah, I want to stop at Johnny's Toys." And we walked in, and we're walking around, and he's like, "Get whatever you want." And that's kind of a dangerous thing to say to like a 7-year-old kid. What I wanted was Sergeant Slaughter, but they were out of stock of that, so I got Serpentor in his air chariot. It's kind of quite amazing. You know, there are no real toy stores like that anymore, and I really miss it. I miss it a lot.
In August of 2001, the store moved to 4314 Boron Drive. There, they constructed a 44,000 square foot building with a new playland called Totter's Otterville and the Latonia Trolley Company.
Hello everyone, I'm Nick Clooney. Welcome to Johnny's Toys Old Time Trolley Ride. The trolley you'll be traveling in today is a 1/2 scale replica of a summer car, similar to many running on the old Green Line in Covington and Latonia during the early part of the 1900s.
In 2004, they opened a location at Cincinnati Mills, which they leased for a year. But times were changing. In 2008, after 32 years, the Green Hill store closed. In the spring of 2009, the toy section at the Boron Drive location was scaled back. The writing was on the wall.
So I remember as a kid, I asked one of the Otterville employees, because I knew where the restrooms were. I was like, can I use the bathroom? And they said, yeah, but you're going to have to go to the old store. I was like, okay. I knew it was going to get me into the old store. I wanted to see what was going on. So they walked me back there. I remember my mom went with me as well. Dark. Everything was off. I remember just a bunch of shelves on the ground where they were taken apart, you know, just random carts and baskets sitting everywhere, and the castle was just sitting there, unilluminated. I remember that very specifically, the sun shining through the window, just this bright, like, aura around the castle. And went to the bathroom, and then I came back out, and I was like, I don't think they're remodeling, because you think there would be some kind of construction going on, but it was pretty clear that they were just tearing things out. So as I was in elementary school at the time, probably around 3rd or 4th grade, and I would go up with my iPod Touch, and I would take pictures of all of it. So I'm like, someday this building's either going to be gone, or it's going to look completely different.
Okay, it's the beginning of spring. I'm at Johnny's Toys. Totter's Otterville is still open. Look at this sign. Mission to Totter's Otterville. is to Johnny's main entrance. Like that's gonna work. Doesn't work. Doors are all locked. Right here is a wall that's blocking it from Totter's Otterville to the old toy store. And look at this place. It is completely empty, but there's gonna be something magical. And you might see it right there. See all the lights on? Birthday Castle is open. It's not actually open to the public. There's a ladder. It's actually pretty big for a toy store. This is like one of them big. And then there's a little chair. And then an amazing birthday castle where the lights are actually still on. And this has been a Johnny's Toys tribute.
Totter's Otterville stayed open until the 2020 pandemic, when it was forced to close. Every story has a final scene. But the magic doesn't leave because the story is over. It's always with us. We should pass that magic and wonder and imagination forward, like Bill and Grace and the Martin family did, and like the hundreds of Johnny's employees did for 70 years. Because there's never truly a the end.
Castle, please. Castle.
Oh, I just love Johnny's Toys. It's the fun place.
And Johnny's is the one place for saving, service, and selection all year long.
Johnny's Toys. It's the fun place.
I've got the key.
The key to a whole new world.
Number 9 special, baby on track 2.
Johnny's Toys has it all.
Thank you, Joe, for saving our country.
Friendly people and so much to see.
And USA with another gold medal.
And the Johnny's Toy Castle with your free birthday present.
Finally, our dream home.
Gifts, hobbies, party supplies, and free layaway. Everything is at Johnny's Toys.